So what, or rather who, was the secret weapon Jon Stewart believed would win the election and save this country from political freefall? That is the million-dollar question.
We ran the results in the computer 100,000 times. She won 50,001. He won 40,099, 99. But in this coin flip country, I was confident because the Democrats had a secret weapon.
The secret weapon, and the most important one the Democrats had, was $1 billion raised by Clay Harris. And let me be honest here, when I heard the actual figure, which is $1.5 billion, I gave up my dream of seeing Trump in the White House. I knew there was no way we could pull it off. I guess I shared that dream with Jon Stewart too. But alas, his dream was shattered when Kamala Harris spent that $1 billion on this.
Since joining the race, the vice president has raised an eye-boggling $1 billion.
Call me eyes-boggled. See, the Democrats in a 50-50 election had $1 billion.
Of all the things Kamala Harris and the DNC could have spent the money on data analytics. Polling, consultants, researchers won't believe it. They blew it on text messages. Man, those things were beyond annoying. Especially the ones from Tim. Whilst you'd be in the middle of something, get a buzz rush to check, and bam, it's walls again. But that wasn't even the most ridiculous thing the Democrats wasted their money on.
There was a lot of texting. A lot of that money went to, how the did they just text me, I'm in the tub. I don't even have my phone. It just came through the water.
Yep, they spent the money on recruiting volunteers to knock on doors. Not only is that the most outdated strategy in modern politics, it's also hands down one of the dumbest I've ever seen. In an era of digital campaigns and AI-driven outreach, they went full 1980s. So yeah, you see why Jon Stewart is still livid with them 9 months after the elections. He watched them burn through $1.5 billion like it was monopoly money on doorbells and awkward small talk.
The $1 billion went towards the one thing Republicans didn't have, couldn't have, that would put the Democrats over the top.
And the Harris campaign has a massive ground game, 50,000 volunteers.
With volunteers knocking on 5 million doors in Pennsylvania alone.
That single move ended up alienating more voters than it won over. Because if you were so confident in your policies and so sure of a win, why invade people's privacy? And it wasn't like new faces were showing up each time, it was the same person, knocking on the same doors again and again. It felt less like campaigning and more like harassment. People started dreading the sound of the doorbell. Instead of persuading undecided voters, they annoyed and pushed them away. It reeked of desperation, not strategy.
There's one thing people love. More than someone appearing randomly at their door once. It's that same person coming back 2 or 3 times to talk politics.
Jon Stewart believes the Democrats knew it was a losing strategy, but went ahead with it anyway, and that's what infuriated him the most. He tore into the DNC, not just for the door-knocking circus, but for their glaring lack of vision and basic political foresight. In his eyes, it wasn't just a tactical blunder, it was a total failure of leadership. Instead of crafting a compelling message or energizing the base with fresh ideas, they recycled tired, ineffective strategies from decades. Past Stewart argued that the DNC wasn't just out of touch, they were willfully blind. And in doing so, they handed Republicans the momentum on a silver platter.
Even though everyone from vacuum salesmen to Jehovah's Witnesses know that's a losing strategy. In fact, they've known that for decades. Let's just spend $250 million on it.
Robert De Niro's meltdown was absolutely epic because let's not forget this is the same guy who's made a second career out of demonizing Trump and calling him every name in the book. He's raged against him in interviews, awards, shows, and even got into public shouting matches with Trump supporters over his anti-Trump tirades. So when Jon Stewart, a fellow liberal voice, roasted the Democrats for their pathetic excuse of an election strategy, De Niro couldn't handle it. He went bonkers. And you just saw that unfold in the clip I showed you. It was like watching his political world collapse in real time. Suddenly the narrative he clung to so tightly was being shredded from the inside, and not by Republicans but by one of his own. Cue the Joy Reid meltdown.
Whatever money is left over, send those same people back to those voters' doors. And just knock again during dinner. And when the homeowner comes to the door, go, "What the Scott?"
Aside from the celebrities who lost their minds over Trump's win, some so-called journalists couldn't believe their ears either. Chief among them was none other than Joy Reid. Yes, the Kamala Harris cheerleader-in-chief. Reid went on a full-blown meltdown blaming America for choosing fascism over democracy. In her hyper-dramatic alternate reality, Trump wasn't just a political opponent, he was Hitler 2.0, supposedly on a mission to destroy everything good and pure about America. And who were his enablers? According to Reid, it was half the country, the millions of Americans who dared to vote for him. This wasn't just political commentary, it was a full-throttle tantrum wrapped in hysteria. Instead of reflecting on why voters rejected the Democratic message, she vilified them, as if disagreement equals evil. But Reid wasn't the only one to go bananas.
We've laid out the stakes in this crucial election, where one side stands for freedom while the other meets the textbook definition of fascism, namely a far-right dictatorial regime like Hitler's Germany or Franco's Spain or Mussolini's Italy.